Hi, Michael Smith with Teach Construction. In this episode of Teach Talks, we have an interview with Rachel Kline, a fantastic teacher from Pennsylvania who runs a painting and decorating program out there. I'm going to apologize to you in advance. Our video in this stream got a little wonky, a little bit at the beginning, a little at the end, but luckily it was really just me. Our audio was usable, and everything that Rachel had to say was able to be saved and used in the interview. So let's take a look at the interview.
So my name is Rachel Kline. I teach painting and decorating at Berks Career and Technology Center in Pennsylvania. Berks Career and Technology Center services 16 of the schools in our Berks County here. 2 of the other districts are serviced by another school. They're large. They're very large. So we have all the other 16. And in painting and decorating, we teach the kids construction painting, basic drywall repair, hanging wallpaper, spraying, a lot of restoration and refinishing, and also interior decorating, interior design.
And how many students do you have typically in your classes? And maybe you can answer, what's your typical student structure pre-COVID, and what have you been having to deal with during these times?
15 to 20 students per session, AM and PM. I've got 12 and 13 and 2 adults. So we're down a little bit than what we would normally be in a normal school year.
Now you're dealing with different cohorts. We talked about it a little bit earlier, I think, but you have, depending on the school and depending what the school who's sending you students, what their rules are, you've got students coming in almost all over the place.
All over the place. You can imagine 16 different districts, 16 different sets of rules. Some are sending their kids based on their last names. So I will see some on a Monday, Friday, some on a Tuesday, Thursday, some I'm getting Monday, Tuesday, some I'm getting Thursday, Friday. And then you can show up to work this year and say, oh, hey, we've hit the numbers. We're not sending students from this district. And you're like, oh my gosh, I had a lesson plan.
Well, let me start with this question. Have you done, because of COVID, have you had to do online teaching so far in the last 6 months?
I am doing a Tuesday and Thursday lesson with my students because initially when the school year started, it was most of these 16 districts, they were coming either Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday. And a couple, 2 or 3 were coming all day coming every day of the week before we shut down Wednesdays. I always felt bad for those kids. They got a lot of attention though, because I would have 2, 3 kids in the morning and afternoon for those schools. But yeah, that to me was a good setup. You knew you were going to get them early in the week, or you were going to get them late in the week. You found the ones, even though you had them in the shop, because I'm trying to, when I have them, I want them working. You're out there sweating bell to bell. Right. The kids that I would have late in the week, because they saw me, even though they weren't doing their work, like, hey, I'll see you next week, get your stuff done. Okay. But the ones that were coming Thursday and Friday, I would find come into me with no work, with none of the written work done. And I was like, what are you like? I'm going to let you work out here, but come Friday, you're going to get a 0. You understand that, right? And we're still struggling. Some students, I got to say, a lot of them are rising to the challenge, but it is really difficult sometimes making sure that they're getting out of bed and doing what they need to, and are, logging on when they're supposed to be logging on with their classmates. But Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm getting on to do virtual lessons with those students that are at home those days. And I haven't changed.
You now have hit high enough COVID numbers in your area where everybody was sent home, and you're not getting any more students starting tomorrow for who knows how long, but you're still going to be at campus doing your lessons virtually from your campus setup. What do you have set up there? What kind of, not brand camera and such, but are you just using a laptop? Do you have a camera that's on a stand that you're using?
So there's a couple different that are available in the office, and we just have to go up and sign them out when we want to use them. and bring them back. For lesson purposes, sometimes I'll be standing in front of, I'll just set up my laptop like this with the whiteboard behind me. But out in the shop, you sort of need like the small tripod. I've, workbench tables obviously on wheels, so I can just that can be just rolled around and used that way.
So when you're doing your online lectures, is that to complement self-paced work, or are they doing self-paced work also? I mean, how are you coming up with those exercises or lessons?
It's a little bit of both. Sometimes I won't see them. Like, we have had 3 schools just on Monday that we found out we weren't seeing at all this week. So it's a balance. I think all teachers are sort of doing their best. When I know that I have them 2 days a week, I feel like I'm repeating a little bit of a lesson, and it's short, and they're really not getting all that they should, because I want to squeeze something in for all 3 levels. And I don't know, it's difficult. I'd like to say that, I'm spending all that time with them, but I still feel rushed, and that they're not getting, obviously, the attention that they would and the time to practice in other years. Like painting lines, for instance, that's the first thing they do when they come in is, 10th graders, and usually 2 weeks max, they're good. And now we're ready to cut in. And I felt so bad for some of these kids, but they're only there 2 days a week. Some of them get it really quick and some do not. So like, oh my gosh, for 6 weeks into these poor kids, they're like, oh, Ms. Kline, I'll do this. Yeah, if you want a construction paint, you have to be able to cut in. But it just is so dry. Everything it's really at a snail's pace is what it feels like.
Right. The exercises that you do, and obviously, as you said, you've got to be incredibly fluid and give the amount of time needed so the young person can really gain those skills, but also get enough in so they're not bored silly.
Yeah.
What have you done, you think, that's been innovative or at least worked for you for online lessons or online time and trying to keep a student engaged? That's a challenge that everybody's facing.
It is a challenge. And I feel like I'm trying to make it meaningful. I'm trying to do my best to explain. Like, I feel like we're working ahead in some areas that we wouldn't be. I usually do, it's about 20% theory and 80% hands-on. And so these kids are not used to doing that. Sending stuff home, as far as like, I have a whole color theory is going to come this year for the 11th graders, and some of it may come for 10th graders as well, just so that I can keep them. So I've made big packets for them to take home. So when I do demos, they can be following along on those demos. But with 16 sending districts, so we're working on floor plans right now. So my 11th and 12th graders are mapping them out on graph paper, and then doing furniture pieces with that and putting that into place. Kids were coming up with sort of crazy floor plans. It was their first time. So to scale, I went out in the shop and we drafted the bedroom to scale, and we made huge bedroom furniture. And I was like, this is why you can't just plot floor, and I was making them walk around it. I got to do that with 2 students. It would have been fantastic if we could have done it as a class before they had to do this assignment at home. So that may be what I'm doing tomorrow on the camera, is sort of giving them an idea, like walking around that, because right now we're practicing with either stuff that they're measuring at home, like their own bedrooms, whatever, or what's being built over at the house project that they will eventually actually get to walk in, and we'll be painting and staining and all that good stuff next year.
Forgive me for not getting the vernacular correctly, but you've got multiple districts from the area sending students to you. So
Correct.
You're going to deal with different technology that they've been provided, but do you also have to deal with different learning management systems? I remember from a prior conversation I think you said you're using Schoology?
We use Schoology and eSchool Data. So they are all using, and some of them do use Schoology back at their home schools. but our system doesn't mix with what they're using at their whatever their sending district is. It's strictly mine. Now they may also be using Schoology at their sending district, but they have to log out and log into ours. So we're not really finding an issue with that. Thank God, because we have enough other issues to deal with.
Are you happy with that learning management portal?
I am. I do just like the trade skills stuff. I mean, the one thing that is super helpful, especially in a year that's as crazy as this one, is you can put those tests in, and it takes care of that and grades it for you. So I can open it up and say it's done. It's graded. These students are late. I have to reach out to these students. Yeah, I'm finding it super easy. That, and when I do written assignments or these work ethic assignments, if I'm at home after my daughter's in bed at 7:30, I can just open my phone, read them, grade them, make comments. It is really nice.
So now we're seeing a bunch of them using Google Classroom, which I just started playing with a little bit because I was really kind of interested on what it does and what it doesn't do. And I was going to make a video series about them. I wanted to hate it because I just thought it was a repurpose of a bunch of the Google Suite stuff, but it's not bad. It's kind of almost, if you know how to create a course or spend a little bit of time, it's not as good as Schoology, but it's good enough and it's free.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a huge amount of districts saying, look, we got to have something given COVID time.
Right.
Which is, I'm kind of happy for, but I'm kind of not on the other end. One end, I'm happy because it's a tool that teachers can use and maybe kind of share within a community. The other end, I'm not too happy because their quizzes are pretty rudimentary. You can't do some cool stuff with them, but I guess it's better than nothing though.
It is better than nothing for sure. Yeah, Schoology is awesome in that you can put pictures in there, matching, like you name it. I have a lot of students with IEPs that need accommodations. It's easy. It's easy to duplicate a test even, and then make those accommodations so I can just assign those students if I need to.
Because you do a painting and decorating program, the instructional assets we had made through some sponsorship dollars that came from Benjamin Moore. Do you still use those? Did you find that valuable for your program?
Like in a pandemic year where I don't have to send a book back and forth, it has been instrumental this year for my first year stuff. Now, again, I'm finding that okay, now I'm sort of, site prep, obvious, it's no brainer, but I'm at a place where I wish I could be further along with them but we can't put it into practice because we don't have enough time to put it into practice.
Right.
But I have found it really useful. I hope that you guys continue and go more in depth to it. I think you and I had a conversation about, it's into paints, but I go into the composition of paints and obviously, a little bit in greater detail. So it's been a great add-on, but it's fantastic. There really are not a lot of good painting up-to-date textbooks out there. There's just not.
We see that in a lot of trades, not just painting, but you're right. I think in the painting side, those are probably the last that seem to be getting updated. And I don't understand why, but I don't know, maybe it's market economics. But if we were to make more content for the painting industry, instructional resources, what kind of stuff would be valuable to you?
I don't know, and we've talked about this before. So the students have to take a knocked exam. There is one for painting and decorating. A lot of they've touched a lot on what would be in the painting, to be honest, but also restoration, basic woodworking, all of that type of stuff would fall into my curriculum too. So I would need to see more of that type of stuff in there as well. Wallpapering, that's a big portion of that test. So it is difficult for me to find something to piecemeal to get all of the things that are under a painting and decorating zip code. Those things to find them all in one spot would be fantastic.
So if it were more content that we made for painting, it sounded like a deeper dive into the material itself, because ours is just a review. It's
Yes.
not a high or an overview, I should say. So a
Right.
deeper dive into material
Yes.
in a couple of different ways. I mean, there's a huge amount of content, and there's probably several sponsors that would love to really dig into the materials in their paint. How much are you talking about sprayers and all that in your program?
I have a large, a fan, not as big as I did when I left the other campus, but I have a big booth. I don't have the means or the space really to have. They practice. They have it marked out off on a task. I feel like they're entry level when they go to an employer, that they're good to use it. But we don't use it. The way I'm set up for practice is 3-4 foot rooms to 8-foot rooms. The one thing that my school really has going for us is we do a student built home about every 3 years, 2 to 3, depending. So pretty soon the roof will be on. This one's a little off because we started it at the end of the year last year, but the roof's going on. So we'll be painting block filler in the basement in the next couple weeks, and then next year when the drywall's in, but generally we don't have the opportunity to spray it, because the way we work it is there's bus loads of kids, sometimes 50 at a time, and we're talking carpentry, building trades, masonry, the whole gamut is there, running around at the same time. So we don't have really the luxury to get everything taped off and to spray it like they would get to. So typically we'll roll everything on, and then at some point during the project, the painting part, it probably happens about, each room gets about 4 coats, which as a painter makes me crazy. But
are you getting materials donated for these types of projects or for your classroom?
I have a fantastic OAC, and yeah, they do. I do get donations. I have somebody dropping off like design materials next week. So we do that. The house project is, it makes money for itself. So it's not one of those so we typically do use some people that do help and to make purchases for that do, even if it's not to my shop, that that are helping out the school in one way or another. But yeah, so I use my OAC for that a lot. But one idea that they did have we sort of talked up as a group, is that I have a lot of students that end up working at paint stores, and that aren't necessarily out with a paintbrush. But so Sherwin has hooked me up with some things that we can do for maybe adding some sort of retail curriculum, so these kids, besides the ethics stuff that I'm already trying to do, but so that they can sort of hit the ground running if that's a road that they want to take. And sometimes they're just doing it, going to work at Lowe's in the paint department because they're in my painting and decorating class, and they end up there. They're there, they're managers years later. So hopefully something will come of that.
So my last question to you, and this really goes as it relates to online learning, whether you're using some of the assets we've created or anywhere else. If COVID were to go, or when COVID goes away, let's just say this rest of this academic year, we're in a mess, but next academic year, will you still use some of the lessons learned during this last 6 months, 12 months? Meaning, will you still do remote learning as a support for your program, or you think you'd go back to, if it's in the classroom in our shop, that's all you're doing?
I think that I will, I'll go back to 80-20 as far as hands-on and academics theory work, but a lot of the theory work will continue with technology, and not necessarily, even a year ago, well, not the first year, but 2 years ago, it was still a lot of, hey, it's this section in the textbook. And that's not the way my students learn best anyway. And I had students like up to this year, because we're a pretty big county. So I've got kids that are rural, suburban, and city that didn't actually have technology, like didn't have a school issued computer, They all have it now. And I don't think that's going to go away. But that really ties your hands when that's the case. So I think that moving forward, we will always be using this type of communication.
No, I agree. I mean, whether it's education or business, some sort of technological implementation of business is here to stay. So, and with education, I think it's the same thing, where the printed textbook is passé, let alone the fact that I haven't been updating them. Shame on you, publishers.
Right.
But they're outdated and they can't keep up. And I think with all the stuff that's happened, and I hope industry like the work that Benjamin Moore has done continues to happen, and more investments into the creation of educational tools. So programs like yourselves can do 80% in the classroom or more, and say the theory portion you're going to do online in your own time, and that's homework, and show up at class. We do a quick review and let's get in that shop. Maybe you can be doing 95% of your time in your shop space. They can prepare for that exercise or that project or that project they're going to do in the shop. Do it at home, get ready for it, watch a video on how to do it. So when you show up, you're prepared. You're not wondering what to do. You know what you need. Now you as the instructor can go around and support them and help them do it better, because it's going to take practice. And the more we have tools in our young person's hands, the better we'll all be.
Agreed.
So, hey, we ran up to our time, and I don't want to take all your time, and I know we've got probably plenty to get ready for teaching online again tomorrow, huh?
You got it.
I really appreciate the time you spent with us. I'd love to check back with you towards the end of the semester, maybe have a conversation again to see how some of your online lessons from school worked. I'm really interested to see if that becomes more of a process, especially with just distance learning opportunities for some of our rural communities.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for everything you do, and hope you do it for many years to come, because we still need, I mean, I tell everybody, if I were to pick one trade, if I had to go back in the field, it would be painting. But, you know, it's a job. If you look at production building or even repaint, it's got to be clean. It's got to be warm. You got to have people out of your way. It's the best trade to be doing.
Right. It's good. And that's what I always tell them. They're out there. It's cold. Like it's snow now. Today it snowed a little bit, but they're framing the house, and we're just waiting. Get that roof on, and all that good stuff. I mean, we'll go in and do the block.
You let me know when the windows are in and the space heater is there.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Rachel, I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.